He was in the basement working, pulling up some old cases, going over them. And Steve comes down to grab me and he says, Lieutenant Walter Boza, wants us to grab our black bags and head down to the World Trade Center. He's down there with Detective Steve Dodge. I says, what are we going to do down there? It sounds like it's an industrial accident, which initially that's what they thought. We go down there, and it's, it just hard to describe because you really didn't see a lot of pictures in the media from that. It's 5 levels down. The hole is the size of a football field for 5 levels. Everything went down, got blown, crushed, went on fire. 1,200 pounds of urea nitrate, which is highly unstable, with hydrogen tanks as a booster for basically enhancing the fireball. It's chaos. There was no coordination between agencies back then. We come back again the next day, and the next day. Happened lunchtime Friday. Sunday, the FBI shows up with the ATF National Response Team. It's like being between 2 national football teams. The Dave Williams was the FBI boss, flown in from Washington. He's going to be in charge of the crime scene. He asks everybody to gather in the catering room, the ballroom of the hotel, which the blast blew up through. An hour or so later from when the blast went off, it was supposed to be a sports award luncheon. Trophies were still thrown all over the floor for a local school sports award luncheon with parents, students, and teachers. That was very sobering to think of that and stand there. We pulled chairs together. Dave Williams says, look, FBI isn't going to be able to handle this by themselves. We need the cooperation of everybody. So why don't we just go around the room, stand up, give your name and your rank, what agency you work for, and what expertise you have. I have been going up and down in that hole since it happened. Well, actually the next day, Saturday, and most of Sunday morning. Steve Dodge went down. I went down. Pete Dalton went down. But we went and explored different areas. Don Haldeman from the FBI, he was going down there in a separate area. Steve Vieira from the FBI, 2 great FBI agents. We had a gentleman who was still missing, who worked for food services. And we kept thinking, this man might still be alive. He might be under some debris, maybe not able to shout or talk. I had tools on my belt. I had a K-bar knife with the back of it. It's almost like a hammer. And I would tap against the cement or metal or pipes and call out his name and listen. Nothing. So this is what was going on the past day and a half.
And you're referring to, before we continue, you're referring to Wilfredo Mercado, who was one of the 6 victims of this attack.
Yes. Thank you, because I'm getting older now and I'm forgetting names. Anyway, we come back out. There was no stairs. The stairwells were gone. The ramps, 24-inch thick cement with rebar, gone. Whole floors gone. Stairwells gone. The only way to get down there was to very carefully to climb. Very carefully to climb. Anyway, on a separate note, it's in my book. I sat and said some prayers to my dead partner, asking him for God's help that morning, that Sunday morning. Sunday afternoon, Dave Williams and Steve Vieira from the FBI said we should put a team together of forensics people sketch artist, photographer, swab samples, measurements to lead a team down there. But they all have to be volunteers because it's pretty dangerous. There's no light. There's no power. The water was still flooding down from the broken water main. More importantly, the waistline was broken. It was pouring down into that pit. Later on, caused us some medical problems, which we didn't realize at the time.
Right.
Super cold, was like being in a wind tunnel. I was asked to lead a team down there, and I did. And methodically, again, I'm curious by nature. I took a guy from ATF with me. He was a recently retired soldier from the U.S. Army, and he worked in EOD, which is mirrors
Explosive Ordnance Division.
disposal, which mirrors what we do, but they have a different mission. They have an IED, a suspected IED. They set up a countercharge. They get back. They crank it off. Off they go. We don't do that. We have a crime scene to process. So it's different procedures. But he was brand new onto the national response team. Very, very knowledgeable man.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where my knowledge from going to Brooklyn Automotive High School and car parts played a big part. And my old partner, Larry Riccio, who helped train me, him and Jeff, he was in auto crime, and he taught me about confidential VIN numbers. And I'm not gonna say any more about that because it's a very interesting story and it's very lengthy. It's in my book, and I'm seeing something here that says Don, the human Q-tip, Sadowy. Ask him, Jerry Sheehan from A&E, him and Bill Ryan. I'm in an air shaft now. I mean, there's the bowels of the complex are underground for heating and air conditioning and everything. I'm in an air shaft. I'm searching for minute evidence. I'm going through different levels through an air shaft, and it gets real narrow. I got a radio on me, and I got my fat butt in a Nomex jumpsuit with a helmet and boots and gloves on. And I finally, I don't know what level where I am because this thing snakes all over the place. And I'm saying, holy crap, I don't want to get trapped in here, and I don't know what level I'm on. There's 5 levels, and everybody's working separately like coal miners, okay?
Right.
I get stuck in there, and I take my K-bar, and I knock out one of these louver vents, and I scared the bejesus out of a couple of guys working right up above them, you know, because there's noise and everything, and I'm trying to get their attention. Hey, it's me. Who the hell? Who is that? I says, it's me, Sadowy. I'm stuck up here. I says, what level am I on? That was it. Everybody started teasing me. Now, in the morning and in the evening, there's a briefing. At the evening briefing, it looked like, now remember, I'm in a jumpsuit, you know, work gloves, helmet, and everything. I had a respirator on. All you could see clearly is my eyes. I'm like a raccoon. I'm covered with soot, like I was dipped in it. And Jerry Sheehan said something at the briefing with the FBI as, let's hear from the human Q-tip, Detective Sadowy from the Bomb Squad. Tell us what you did today, Don. And it was really funny. It was really funny. So that was my nickname from Lieutenant Sheehan.
The rest is history. But we get to the critical part of the investigation, and obviously this is an all-hands-on-deck effort, and that is the discovery of the chassis frame, which would lead to the bombers. Now, I'll set the stage again, and you can handle it. And, of course, we're talking with Don Sadowy, retired NYPD Bomb Squad Detective, 2nd grade here on the Mike the Name podcast. For those of you that will be listening to this via audio and not via video later on. I do want to say that this will be, given the length of the podcast, I will be splitting this into 2, potentially 3 parts so that you can hear each part and really savor this great conversation. So anyway, as I was saying, the chassis frame, this is a gamble at the time that was something that earned you some scorn, but obviously you did the right thing. And it, like I said, it led to the bombers. You're looking around, you're conducting your investigation, and
I found broken pieces of a differential. That's the gears in the back where the axles come in.
right.
Now, I've been involved where cars were blown up, organized crime, change of command. Big Paul Castellano, his crew, after he was assassinated. I knew what car parts were, but I never saw the powertrain separate. So that's what caught my eye. The housing I put back together with the gears like an egg. Now, how did I know that? Was because my experience in Brooklyn Automotive High School. I put it back together, sitting on a slab, broken slab. And I had the gentleman from ATF. It wasn't an agent. I think his title was explosive specialist. So he's asking me, what's this, what's that? And I says, I know this because of high school. So then I put it back the way it was. And I saw there was a tremendous amount of pressure that came down on this. This had to be from the vehicle that held the bomb, because of the posture and the breaking of the way this broke. Now my curiosity's up. Now we're working with a flashlight. We're going a broken slab, like 18, 24 inches thick of cement, about 35 feet long, being only held on by rebar. We're crawling along the edge in the darkness. This stuff is all carbon coated, you know, from the fire, the fire of the blast, you know, with the hydrogen tanks enhancing the blast with a fireball. Everything's burnt and twisted. Pull up some rubble, and we find about a 4 or 5 foot length of chassis frame, twisted and bent like a piece of licorice. Then I remember Larry Riccio, my old partner who helped train me. He was Jeff Matlin's partner. He went to auto crime and went to the bomb squad. He used to say to me, Don, what the heck do you do to take apart a bomb safely? And I'd say to him, how do you figure out, you know, stolen car parts? So we talk like two Orientals, and we're still best of friends. And he told me about confidential hidden VIN numbers. It was like a light went on in my head from Larry. Took my glove off. Took my thumb. The metal is in kind of like the shape of the letter C. And that's the chassis frame, but it's all twisted, bent, and burnt. Took the glove off. I stuck my hand in, and I ran my thumb back and forth inside. What I felt was an encoded, it was a star shape, 3 letters, about a dozen numbers, and ended in a star shape. Mm-hmm. Now, on most metal, it's either stamped in or raised. This wasn't. It was dotted. It was just dotted, but I could feel it. And I knew in my heart, this had to be from the vehicle that brought the bomb in. And why do I say that? Because the other vehicles were crushed and burned, but they weren't completely blown apart. Not with the powertrain and the frame. At this time, I was the team leader because I knew how to get people down there and get them out. And everybody who went down there was warned. You don't have to go. This is very dangerous. We can have debris slide down on us. Again, there's no stairwells. There's no ramps. You got to just climb down very carefully.
Talk about a long walk. It's a long climb.
So we're down on a B2 level, stretched out on the edge of this broken slab. Again, complete darkness, bitter cold like a wind tunnel. just working with flashlights. The rest of the team went to a pristine area that I picked out that wasn't disturbed. So they're doing photographs, measurements, they're doing swab samples and things, on surfaces that I thought was pristine, for integrity purposes, for evidence for the guys in the lab. So at this time, I get a call on the radio. It's the FBI dispatcher. There's no coordination now. This is like the third day into this, this massive thing. Everybody's on different radio frequencies. She tells me that the Port Authority is telling her that the MTA has a train stuck in the tunnel from Jersey, but they want to back it out to get it out of there and assess any damage to the train. They want to salvage the train, but it may cause an avalanche of debris where we are. And there's no way for her to contact them. She just got the heads up. Said, tell everybody, drop what they have and just get the hell out. You got 15 minutes to get out. That's it. Just get out. Well, I go back. I talk to the team. I said, this is too important. They asked me why. I told them why. I said, gather up what we have. I'm gonna climb up topside with this gentleman from ATF. Guys from crime scene knew me from working with them over the years. And I said to the guys from ESU, I need a Stokes basket. I need 2 body bags. I need it right now, and help me get it down below into the hole. I told the guys from crime scene, we're going to have to put this stuff in your station wagon, and you're going to drive like hell to get to the police lab. I said, this is really important. So, I mean, we're doing this like as we're running and climbing. Mm-hmm. We get down below, we drop the Stokes basket down, throw the 2 body bags down. Everybody's on the same page. We had people from ATF, FBI, our crime scene, our crime lab. We had a guy from the explosives laboratory from Washington, D.C. with us. I mean, that's unheard of. Those guys never come out of the lab.
Yeah.
Okay? So we were fortunate. We had a diverse group down there, but we were all on the same page after I talked to them. And they were kind of nervous because we were really sternly warned by Dave Williams from the FBI, the big boss from Washington. Do not disturb anything. Do not bring anything out. Just go down there and do that basic, survey of the area and then out. I said, whatever happens, I'll take the heat for this, but this is too important. I'm not a boss fighter. I never disobeyed an order in my life. This is the one time. And we put it in the 2 body bags. Now, why did I say to do that? The reason I said to do that was because bad guys watch TV. They're probably still hiding here somewhere within the city or around the city. Mr. Mikado, God rest his soul, we wanted to give the impression we were bringing Mikado's body out in the 2 body bags wrapped together with the car parts in the Stokes basket, put it into the station wagon. As we were doing that, I went up and talked to the patrol bosses and cops who were bored out of their mind up on street level. I said, this is so important, guys. I really need your help. What do you need, detective? I says, I need you to form a line of vehicles across West Street. Nobody goes south. Nobody goes north for five full minutes. We got some evidence here that's so important for the case, but we can't let the media know what we have. So let them think it's Mercado's body. It's not. But please, I need your help. They were all smiles. The sergeants looked at the men smiled back. Detective, you got it. They put their coffee cups down, put their cigarettes out, got into vehicles, and I said, wait, I'm going to give you a signal. That vehicle is going to come flying up this ramp, lights and siren, and they're going to head south. And then they're going to go around the horn, come up the FDR Drive, and go to the police academy, go into the basement, and then go up to the lab with the equipment on the elevator. I gave the signal. All the cops pulled their radio cars across, made a wall, made sure nobody can drive up on the sidewalk. They formed a wall with the vehicles. The car comes leaping out of the ramp, lights and siren. It's a marked crime scene vehicle.
Mhm.
Hauling butt, going south. The media went crazy, cursing and yelling at the cops because they want to follow in their minivans with their cameras. So they figured, they saw there was a body bag and a Stokes basket in the back of the station wagon. So they figured it's Mercado's body. So they turn around and go north, go up to Work Street. They're going to cut across, and then they're going to go to the east side to the ME's office. Our guys from crime scene. Oh, and I put an agent from the FBI from the lab with an female agent from ATF together for integrity.
Mhm.
That we don't lose sight of the evidence in the chain of custody. I'm thinking ahead now. For integrity of the evidence. Don't lose that chain of custody. I pushed them into the back of the station wagon with that evidence. They went off. They went to the police academy. They went downstairs. I got on the horn and I called up the lab. I know some of the guys in the lab and said, listen, this is really important. Need to, I think I found the vehicle hidden VIN number. Okay, Don, we got it. They get up there and a lot of the federal officers are up there and they don't want you to touch nothing. They waited, actually, truth be told, they waited for them at 5 o'clock to go to meal. John Sardone and his partner picked up the evidence with gloves, took it into a closed room, locked the door behind them, put it into a vise. True story. Got two 24-inch pipe wrenches, put both of them on there, and both of them bent the poop out of this metal to expose the inside. They hit it with an acid wash and took 2 Polaroid pictures. That was the VIN number. They traced it to a rental agency in New Jersey. And the story goes on from there, which I'm giving you as a teaser. The rest of it is in my book.
Which, of course, is Rendered Safe Tales of an NYPD Bomb Tech. So we'll conclude with this. And it's been a great conversation here with Don Sadowy. It's been as good as actually, it has not been as good as I thought it would be. It's been better than I thought it would be. It's really been amazing talking with you. And that is, not by the time 2000 rolls around, you're getting ready to retire. You talk about it in your book, and I don't want to spoil it, but you'll talk about what went into your decision. And then you're working in the private sector, and your role as intelligence coordinator of the bomb squad is taken over by a detective of the name of Claude Richards, who you worked very closely with, and who plays a central role in 9/11 momentarily. I'll share the screen here so you can see, for those of you that will be watching this on YouTube, you can see Detective Richards and what he looked like. This was Detective Richards, for those of you watching, a member of the New York City Bomb Squad, who we'll discuss at length momentarily. You didn't know him as Claude, though. Anybody that knew Detective Richards knew him as Dan. His middle name was Daniel, and so he went by Danny.
When I first met him, he told me he was in the 82nd Airborne, and he told me it was an Army Ranger, and he gained my respect from day one. And I helped give a recommendation for him to come into the squad, and eventually he wanted to take my spot as intelligence coordinator, and I gave him a sterling recommendation for that. But the funny thing is, he used to tell people, he used to say to Lieutenant Boza, listen, Don was a Marine. He says, I won't hold it against him. And I was an Army Ranger. And the other thing he used to say it like in a whisper, like he was embarrassed. Listen, guys, don't call me Claude. Call me Danny. Don't call me Claude. And a little funny story, off the cuff with this. Steve Burbridge was his partner for a long time before he became my partner. He used to give as good as he got. Guys would tease the hell out of each other.
Yeah.
One day, one day he says something to Danny Richards, and then Danny walks out of the back room. That's where we all would sit and talk. And he's back out in the squad room, and he's like, "Damn that SOB Burbridge, blah 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 blah." And Burbridge just sticks his head like halfway out of the doorway from the back room. And if you remember that, what was that Alfred Hitchcock movie?
Bates Motel.
Yeah, Bates Motel. He'd stick his face half out, and he'd say, now I can't think of the name of the
Norman.
I'm sorry?
Norman.
The character?
Norman.
Oh, yeah, Norman. You say, Norman, calm down. Come back and see your mother. And, oh, my God. Daddy's head would, like, explode. So that's kind of a little funny joke, you know, a little dark humor between cops.
No, of course. No, we'll talk about him at length in a moment. But September 11th, 2001, you're working in the private sector. And again, there's another episode I'm going to have to bring you back for, just to spend an entire episode on that. But to give you a brief synopsis of Don's experience that day, and you can read about it in his book. He talks about it at length, of course, is he was working in the private sector for Merrill Lynch, which is a financial firm. And the World Trade Center was a financial area. I mean, the name tells you World Trade, you're trading. And a lot of financial businesses were in the Trade Center and around the Trade Center. When the first plane struck, Don, of course, his experience as a Marine and as a police detective, went over to investigate. And you saw, as you describe in your book, and I don't want to give it away, horrendous things. And I do want to give a brief, detailed synopsis of what Dan and members of the bomb squad did that day. And if I miss a detail, Don, stop me, because I want to make sure I tell this accurately. Dan was off duty that morning, as many firefighters and police officers were. He was the intelligence coordinator by this point. He had taken over the position from Don upon Don's retirement in 2000. Dan's hours were 10 a.m. to 6:30 in the evening. He heard what was going on, and normally, and this is a testament to how great of a man he was, an intelligence coordinator's battle station would be at the office. You go to the office, you gather information. Is there any other attacks in the works? What's going on here in the country? What's going on around the world? You would gather information. Not Dan. He knew the situation. He knew the amount of people who were in grave danger, including his colleagues. And he arrived at the bomb squad headquarters, where he teamed up with police officer Joe Dolan, Detective Dan McNally, who's a mutual friend of both myself and Don's, and Detective Steve Burbridge. They raced down to the scene, and they arrived moments after the South Tower had collapsed. The North Tower is still standing and fully engulfed and in grave danger of collapsing in its own right. They witness a New York City police sergeant trying to direct people off of the World Trade Center's plaza. And that sergeant is alone, and he's trying to direct people who are trapped on the plaza but can't get out. They survived the collapse of the South Tower, but they're stuck, and they need assistance to get out. Knowing what they know, and of course lending their expertise to the situation, they assist this sergeant, and they act as a letter carrier, clearing people off the plaza under indescribable conditions. It is from there that they team up, with members of the emergency service unit. Among that unit, Sergeant Mike Curtin and Officer John DeLara of Emergency Service Unit Number 2, which is based up in Harlem. They go into 6 World Trade Center, which was a building directly adjacent, or also known as the Customs House, a building directly adjacent to the North Tower, to look for more people, get them out of the building, and get them to safety. The two Dannys, McNally and Richards, are with the ESU guys. Steve Burbridge is outside of the building, along with another detective by the name of Michael Mixon, who was also a member of the bomb squad. And what they're doing is they're directing these people to Steve and Mike, and Steve and Mike are subsequently getting these people to safety. As they're doing that, the North Tower gives way. Detective McNally described it as having a mountain fall on top of you. They all lean up against the wall instinctively and held on to each other as tight as they can. Danny Richards, Sergeant Curtin, and Officer DeLara are standing 10 feet, no more than 10 feet behind Danny McNally. And this is everything I'm telling you is a secondhand account of what I've
You got it right. You got it right.
Read and,
Keep going.
read from and listened to an interview that McNally did and Burbridge as well. The debris of the North Tower crashes through the roof of the Customs House. It tears through each floor, and it goes into the lobby of where these men are standing. And it's simply a matter of where they were standing inside that lobby that determined whether or not they lived or died.
Yep.
Dan and the members of the ESU team that he's with are towards the exit of the building. They survive, as do Steve and Mike, but the debris that crashed down through the lobby not only crashed through the lobby, but crashed down into the sub basement of the World Trade Center complex. And it took Detective Richards, Sergeant Curtin, and Officer DeLara with them, and all three men were killed. They would not be found until the spring of 2002. They recovered Sergeant Curtin's March 6th. Today actually is the anniversary of discovering Danny. He was found on March 29th, 2002.
I was just going to say something about that because Steve Burbridge reminded that to me in a message this morning.
Yeah, they found Danny 19 years ago today in the rubble of the Trade Center, 6 months after he had died. And then they lastly found John DeLara 7 months to the day, April 11th, 2002. Detective Richards, Sergeant Curtin, Officer DeLara, and all members of the New York City Police Department who were killed that day were posthumously awarded the highest honor that a New York City police officer can receive, and that is the NYPD's Medal of Honor. That was bestowed to them on Medal Day, December 4th, 2001. So we kind of talked about it. A lot of us, like myself, only know about Danny because of the day and the way that he died, but he was a hero long before that day. You worked with him, you loved him. So when you look back, what are some of your favorite memories of him? And we'll wrap up with that.
Danny Richards was what you would call a real straight arrow. If you saw him standing at the curb on Hudson Street, coming back from getting a sandwich at the deli, and there was a crowd of people waiting for the light to change, when that light changed, you'd pick him out of the crowd. He still walked and talked like an Army Ranger, ramrod straight, honest as the day is long, hardworking guy, always do the extra mile. One of the funny things that I remember about him, off the top of my head, we had a disagreement. He would go off on a tangent on something, but he would be very emotional about it, that he was absolutely right. And me and Steve Burbridge would say, Danny, there's a chance that there's another answer to this. There's another way to go. And he'd be like, no, I'm telling you, this is the way to go. Okay. So at the end of that, he was kind of pissed at me, and it was time for lunch, and we were going to order Chinese food. And I go for my wallet, and I actually left my wallet at home. And he saw the look on my face, and he comes over in a stern voice and says, what's the matter? And I said, listen, I'm not in for lunch. Why not? I says, I left my wallet at home. Without skipping a beat, he reaches in his wallet discreetly, pulls out a 20 and slips it on my desk, and whispers to me, pay me back payday. All right, so now he's in for lunch. What do you want? So, that's the other thing is too, we played a joke on him. He served in Bosnia with British and Danish soldiers back in the days of Slobodan Milosevic, and he was doing what was called ethnic cleansing. It's rather complicated, but this is when communism was dissolving in the small satellite states in Eastern Europe, Serbia, Bosnia, and all this here.
Right.
And they were literally murdering men, women, and children who were Muslims. Absolutely horrible, but they needed
genocide, basically.
Yeah. What Hitler did to the Jews. And so anyway, Danny volunteered through the State Department. We had many contacts with the State Department over the decades, and it just became stronger as time went by. We had many members who had many special expertise. Danny volunteered with the State Department, and he took a leave of absence for 13 months. He went overseas, he served there, and he helped do a lot of great things. Anyway, that's a story in itself. He comes back, and we find out he's coming back on Sunday night on the 4 to 12. He's flying into Newark from Europe somewhere, and he still has his jumpsuit on, and he's got his soft luggage and everything. So Danny was always into music. So he always used to get CDs made, which was semi-legit, okay? He loved music. So we get permission from Sergeant Ahern, take a car, go over there. Don't get involved. Just pick him up from the airport, bring him home to his apartment. So we get there, and were wearing a disguise. And Steve Burbridge made this like 2x3 sign that said, "Welcome home, Norman." And we got this female supervisor from Customs to play a joke on him that they waited. There's this long line of people coming in on the international flight to get through Customs. We got her to go up with two guys that look like football linebackers in uniform from Customs. Tell them, "Are you Danny Richards? Give me your passport. Is that all your luggage? Come with me. What do you got in there?" And now he's like, because he's got these music CDs, right? So he's jammed up. So she says, "Not only are we going to search your luggage, come with me." And these two guys get on the side of him. He's carrying his luggage. "Listen, I'm a detective from NYPD Bomb Squad. I'm coming back from Bosnia. Blah 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 blah." Just hold on to that. Where are we going? You're going to go in that room, and we're going to do an inner body cavity search of you. Well, at that point, he was like shocked. And at this point, we all just start laughing. Me and Burbridge walk over. We got like a funny nose and glasses with a mustache on.
Right.
And we're holding this sign that says "Welcome home, Norman." We're standing in front of him. He doesn't realize it's us. Finally, Burbridge says, "Hey, you SOB." He took the phony disguise off. He says, "It's me and Sadowy, you dummy." And he says, "Look at the sign." And then he reads it out loud. "Welcome home, Norman." And everybody in the airport just lost it laughing. We put him in the car. He appreciated the joke and the lift. We went back to his apartment, opened up a bottle of champagne. We had a sip of champagne and wished him, we're very glad that he's home, safe and sound. One follow-up that I don't think you know.
Tell me, yeah,
I want to put it out there in honor of Danny.
Please.
When one of the sergeants and Detective Mulcahy went to Danny's apartment because he lived alone, short distance away from the squad.
Yeah, Greenwich Village.
When they went into his apartment, they went into his desk.
Is this after he died or before?
After he died. Days later, they went up there. They went into his desk and they were looking around the apartment because they wanted to secure, any weapons, his ID and stuff. His detective shield was there in its case, in his drawer of his desk. And next to it was his last will and testament. That's chilling. And we all said when we heard this, he knew he may not be coming home. He was off duty. It shows you the measure of the man. He left his shield and he left his last will and testament next to it in the drawer, that whoever would open that top drawer of the desk would see that. And his brother was alive at the time, and his brother was crippled. He lost his legs in Vietnam.
Bill Richards.
Yeah, and they wanted to let him know, and they secured any and all valuables that were there. But I'll end talking about Danny. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't, and it really, you said it does speak to the character of the man. I didn't know that at all, and I'm glad that you shared that here. He, like I said, he was off duty, and as I described earlier, moments later, as that North Tower collapsed, Danny was among the 23 New York City police officers who responded to those towers, saved numerous people, and ultimately sacrificed their lives in the line of duty to do so. I want to conclude with this.
Yes, sir.
A couple notes on Dan. And I can't thank you enough for coming on. I've loved every minute of this, Don. I mean,
thank you.
And I'm going to bring you back as long as you want to come back.
My pleasure, Mike.
As long as you want to come back, you're welcome back anytime. But, when I what was I going to say? I want to get my train of thought back, and I do want to read something.
We covered a lot.
We did, but it was something in regards to this, Dan, and I do want to bring this up as you mentioned that story when he left his will
And his shield.
and his shield being there. God, there is something here that I do want to share. His brother, he would take care of his brother.
Yes.
And his brother actually did end up passing away from those injuries. I hate when this happens. I'm forgetting my train of thought, but
Yeah, I can't throw stones and make fun of you because I go through that every day.
yeah, no, it's something it is definitely
You
he
get a
let
little
it,
brain fog.
right. Yeah, basically, I was just gonna say he led an incredible life, and I'm trying to trace it back. I mean, he showed remarkable calm under really dire circumstances, and if he was
I think
around,
you would find that with just about every member of the bomb squad that I ever worked with. You know, the whole world could be coming to an end, and these bomb techs, they stay focused, razor sharp focus, that no matter what's going on around them, they're going to take care of business.
and that's what he did. And I guess what I'll conclude with, and I'll remember it later, and I'll kick myself for it. But we'll conclude with what Danny McNally said about Dan Richards in October 11th, 2001 Newsday article, a month after he died. It says, quote, from Dan McNally, Dan Richards was the kind of man who knew the difference between right and wrong, and he knew the difference between difficult and easy. But he would never let something difficult stand between him and doing something right. He was a man who was comfortable in his own skin. And I do like to say that this episode is going to be a 3-part special, and for what it's worth, it's dedicated to his memory. And I'm very glad that I
Thank
got
you.
to.
And I think it's a credit to you too. And you notice that today is the anniversary when his body was recovered.
Yeah. Yeah, he charged a lot of guys that day, charged into harm's way, and like I said, 23 of them didn't come back. But I do, I don't know. I think the reason I get this brain fart is because what you told me about that just sent me some chills down my spine. I did never know. But his picture does hang up on the Bomb Squad's memorial wall. And for those of you listening, you didn't, if you didn't know him, take the time to read about him. And also for those of you that knew him that will watch this and will listen to this, and we'll wrap up with this. If you knew Danny, just know, and I know you miss him. I know every day without him is tough, but his story, his life is still impacting people all these years later. I never knew the man. I was 1 year old when he died, and look at how his life and his story still impacted me. And that's a testament to him and every member of the NYPD that responded that day, especially the 23 that did not come back.
Well, that's a testament to the work you do to keep his memory alive, and I'm glad I shared that last thing about him, about his detective shield was in its case.
Shield number 244.
In his top drawer desk, and right next to it was his last will and testament. So he knew before he went out the door. He didn't have to go. He was off duty. Like you said, his job should have been just going back to the bomb squad office and coordinating. He willingly put himself in harm's way, but he knew. I spoke with Tony Biondillo, who was a sergeant, and Dennis Mulcahy that after that happened, and I read some other stuff that they found that, and it's quite obvious. He knew. He thought he may not be coming back. Again, it's a testament to the man's character.
Well, this concludes an incredible episode of the Mike the New Haven podcast. It's going to be a 3-part special. It was long, and then for those of you that are watching this, I hope that you still enjoyed it. Bill Ryan's still sticking around. I appreciate that. I don't care that it was long. It was great. I could sit here and talk to you all day, Don, and I'm glad you came by. So Don's book is rendered safe. Tales of an NYPD Bomb Tech. I'll show it. I do want to share for those of you that are watching before we wrap up here.
There's many other stories, but these are some of the highlights. But I go into great detail in the book on speaking about many of these incidents and these cases that I hope that people will find interesting. It really summarizes that 20-year period of all the things that were going on in New York City at the time, and went into detail as much as I could, and being very honest. in my feelings and emotions as I experienced those things.
So, like I said, the book is rendered Safe Tales of an NYPD Bomb Tech. Buy it, hard copy, however you get your books, please do.
We're on
And
Kindle. We're on Kindle also.
Kindle as well. Online, hard copy, however you purchase your books, buy it. You won't regret it. I finished it in 5 days. It was so good.
Amazon
So,
Books was self-published.
Amazon Books, just Google it. Everything will pop up, and you can get this book. If you want, subscribe to the podcast. We're on all audio platforms that are out there. Of course, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, MC's Audio, MC''S Audio, where you can get the video version of this podcast. And of course, stay tuned for more great episodes. I do want to just conclude, like I said, by saying that this book is something that you definitely should read. This episode, this special, is dedicated to all the great members of the NYPD's Bomb Squad, past and present, who do great work every day, and to the families of the 6 Bomb Squad members that have died in the line of duty. Lieutenant Giuseppe Petrosino, Detectives Ferdinand Socha and Joseph Lynch, Officer Vincent Connolly, Officer Brian Murray, and lastly, as we just finished talking about, Detective Danny Richards. We dedicate this episode to their memories. So on behalf of Don Sadowy, I am Mike Colon, and we will see you